This is John Bailey, the epic voice of Honest Trailers, and you're listening to the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. It's a Fangirls podcast with five-ish people. The tangents and squee will continue. Squee.
The tangents and squee continue all the way to episode 436 of the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. Now, if someone is killed, murdered, but then they come back and they're murdered again, but this time by a different person, is that considered a double homicide? Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. So glad you could join us. Let's start off like a regular with the virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Brittany in Belvedere.
This is Chrissy in Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Hello,
everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Tis the spooky season, so why not talk about murder?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Get us all in the mood.
Yes.
We know who did it.
Yeah, we do now.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
They had me second guessing myself there for a while, but
yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But
Same here.
we will get to that. So, oh, excuse me. For something new, not a whole lot of news. Thankfully, Netflix is coming clutch by letting us know when we're going to get that final season of The Crown. Sooner than you think, actually. They're going to be releasing it in 2 parts. We'll get the first part on November 16th, and then we'll get the second part on December 14th.
Oh.
So this will be it for The Crown. I'm kind of sad.
How far does this one go up to when Queen Elizabeth dies? Now that,
I don't know. I don't know if they
Or-
adjusted it after
Okay.
she passed, or they have not said.
Okay.
So, because I think originally the plan was just to go up to when William and Kate get married.
Okay.
Which
and
that
that
would
would
have
be-
been
That would
the
have been a good
the-
stopping point.
Platinum Jubilee. Is that right?
Sounds about right. I could be
that would've
wrong,
been-
though.
Yeah, that would have been because
Or
it was
no, the
52
Diamond
she was-
Jubilee. Where's the Diamond Jubilee?
The
I don't
know. The one that was right before she passed away was the platinum.
Okay, so then there was the Diamond Jubilee then. So
Yeah, I can't keep it.
because that was like a whole like thing, like England was just kind of in a tizzy because like the Queen was having a jubilee, the future king was getting married, London was hosting the Olympics. It was a
Yeah.
whole thing.
Mhm.
So
Also, Kate is awesome. We love her.
yes,
I do. I think she's great.
Yeah.
so but yeah, since because of the delay in production because of the pandemic, I don't know if they bothered to extend that to the passing of Prince Philip and then Her Majesty or not. So I don't know.
Okay.
I guess we'll have to find out. Wait and find out.
Watch and find out, huh?
Yep.
That would be interesting, like getting that modern, like just a couple years ago. That'd be interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah.
Yep. So here is that. So thank you, Netflix, for giving us something. And then the only other thing that we really have is Chauncey and I took a little trip Friday down to Louisville to go see this year's incarnation of American HorrorPlex.
Cool.
So I had to get the invite to come check it out. Like they've done the last few years. Although I couldn't go on their actual media night because that was the same night I was going to see Ringo. So, but they were more than happy to let me come another night. So we did the following Friday. So it's at the same location, same theme, the whole idea of the Breckenhart Institute and these mad scientists / doctors doing experiments, starting in World War II, and shenanigans happen. So, but you can see with each passing year, because this is the third year that Chauncey and I have gone, how they find ways to improve and adjust things. So while we're going to the same location and getting the same storyline, we're not getting the exact same experience 3 years in a row, which I really appreciate.
If you're involved in a project like that, I could see you like even people putting it on like, hey, let's tell it in this different way, or maybe we want to try something like this, or integrating different ideas and techniques and stuff. So that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They they are somewhat subject to the space that they're in, because they are using the area they're in is a kind of an industrial area, but the buildings are old. So obviously they can't be like knocking stuff down. But I think they do a really good job of making do with the square footage that they have, and again changing it up so that if you have been the previous year, you think what's around the next corner, and it's not. It's sometimes it's slightly different, sometimes it's completely different. There's a couple of new rooms that they've managed to fit into the blueprint. There's some new special effects. The people that they get, the scare actors they're so entertaining, and they're Chauncey's favorite part of the entire thing too. It's just they really get into it, and you can tell that they are really just enjoying doing this, night after night, every season. They have also expanded their like scare options, so you could do where you just you pay a regular admission and you walk through the attraction like you normally would, but now they have added I forget what it's called. I took a picture of the sign because I know I was gonna forget. So they have your general admission, you have your VIP admission, which is a shorter line, but they have what they call invasive surgery, and they give you like one of those like those reflective vests like what construction workers wear, and if you're wearing that when you go through, it allows the scare actors to actually touch you, which I hate the idea of that. So thankfully with the media pass, it's not that. It's just the basics. Because otherwise I've been like, nope, I'm leaving. Sorry. And then for anyone who maybe cannot make it right away, or maybe you want to extend the spooky season past actual Halloween, on November 3rd and 4th, they are offering the institutionalized challenge for $50, and it says, be strapped in and personally escorted through the haunted house by one of our monsters.
Oh boy. Why do I just have this mental flash from the last David Tennant special, strapped in that chair and trying to get rescued, and his worst rescue ever as he's bumping down the stairs.
Well, actually, I was envisioning more Hannibal Lecter.
Okay. But you get the gist.
Yes. That works too. So yeah, if Halloween comes and rolls by and you've got the post Halloween blues, and you can get down to Louisville in early November on either of those dates, you can extend your fun. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to go and see the attraction, check out some of the other stuff. They usually have food available for sale, which they did. They had a food truck parked in the area. They had a few vendors selling things. They had the escape rooms again, which the escape room that they offer is the 5-minute version. So there's the lady, when we're talking to her after, she said there's a 5-minute, 30-minute, and an hour version, but only at this they just do the 5-minute version. Otherwise they would get backed up if it was busy. So, but we did the casino last year, and Chauncey and I beat it just barely. So this year we did the murderer's cabin, and we actually beat that one too. So
cool.
Nice.
Once we got over some technical difficulties, there's a thing you have to do involving a fishing rod, and whoever had it before got the fishing line all tangled up. Thankfully they were nice and paused the clock for us. So, but still, ouch. It was just like they're trying to fix it and unwind it, and then the gal who's working, she was trying to fix it, and she's like, "This is probably enough to do what you need to do," and I managed to make it work. So, but yeah,
I get plenty of flashbacks from having messed with the fishing line, going fishing, and then trying to fix it, and basically,
fishing line doesn't care.
No, it's basically kind of like the scene from a Griswold, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, where Griswold hands the great big ball of lights to his kid, like, okay, here, Russ, have fun.
Yeah, here, Russ, untangle these.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty
much it.
Yeah. So that was.
Fishing line is pretty unforgiving.
Yeah. Especially when you think you got it right, and then you pull in and it tightens instead of loosens, and you're just like, "Oh, you gotta be kidding me!"
Yeah. So if you're in the Louisville area or find yourself near the Louisville area, and you want to kill a couple hours with a well-themed, well-written haunted attraction, I highly recommend checking out American HorrorPlex. So, and I will have a little bit of a sneak peek on the YouTube channel, because you don't want to give it all away.
No.
So,
gotta leave some surprises.
Yes. Yep. So there is that. And then next up, we've got feedback. Just a little bit of feedback from Shalane. She says, one thing I just want to say that I didn't get to mention, since the new Disney movie Wish is coming out for the 100 years of Disney, it could be a big hit. Because 10 years ago was Disney's 90th anniversary, and Frozen was released, and it was a big hit. Yes, it was. And people believe Frozen
never stopped hitting.
Yeah, really. Coming soon. And people believe that Frozen broke the direct-to-sequel curse along with Wreck-It Ralph, because both films were released in movie theaters in part. of Disney animation films, while Disney's direct sequels were part of Disney Toons, the studio that did the Disney sequels. We'll see what the next 10 years do for Disney. Yes, we will. So another thing about the strike, that some shows that were announced years ago are canceled, and new shows that last only for 2-3 seasons are canceled. Yes, that's just a unfortunate side effect of things like these strikes, as stuff that was announced may never happen, and some stuff that was already going just fizzles out.
Well, so everyone's feeling the pinch, so get used to it.
Yep. So that is that. Shalane's feedback. Thank you, Shalane. So, speaking of shows that thankfully have not gotten pinched, because they have announced that we are getting a season 4, which makes me very excited. I think makes us all excited. Is Only Murders in the Building. So I have confirmed that we are getting a season 4 whenever they are able to get back to work. But this season with this cast, bringing in some faces that we have seen before in other places. So, of course, we have our usual trio of Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. And but this year they really leaned into the fact that Martin Short's character Oliver is kind of I mean, he's a Broadway producer and director, but he's not a very good one. But he gets the opportunity to do a new show after several flops. And as we saw in the teaser at the end of last episode, we're there with them in the theater on opening night. The star of his show, played by Paul Rudd, because everybody loves Paul Rudd, comes out to, say his opening lines and drops dead. And that's where they kind of left us until we got to this season, and you get to find out why anyone would want to kill Paul Rudd, because everybody loves Paul Rudd, according to that Budweiser commercial from so many years ago. So, but but the thing is, because this is what Only Murder does really well, as far as murder mysteries, is they always find a way to have a little twisting, to keep us on our toes, essentially. And this season was no exception. So, you get Ben Glenroy, who dies,
comes back
dead, on the opening night, and then as the rest of the cast of the play meet after Ben shows up, he's like, "No, I'm actually alive." And everybody's like, "What the hell?"
You don't have to cue Queens, Princes of the Universe, or anything of that sort.
Yeah. He's like, "Nope, I'm alive," and everybody's like, "Oh, that's wild, man!" And then he ends up dead again, properly this time, because he falls down an elevator shaft.
Ouch! Yeah.
So that is the big murder that needs to be solved, is who killed Ben Glenroy twice.
And there are red herrings galore. We're not just talking the dip that
Yeah, I was gonna say there's
Oliver,
literally red herring. There's literally red herring in just so, but it gets eaten.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, but in like, because we've been with these characters for 2 seasons already, obviously
to beat.
Yeah, we're really getting into they've got their personal lives. Mabel is losing her, well, it's not her apartment, it's her aunt's apartment that she's been living in for the last 2 seasons. Her aunt has sold it, so she has to find a new place to live. Meanwhile, her love life is kind of stagnant until she meets this new guy. And then Charles, played by Steve Martin, is had started a relationship with, was she his makeup artist?
Yes.
On the Brazos reboot?
Yes, Joy was the makeup artist.
She worked with him on on the original Brazos too, but she was back working doing his makeup for the Brazos reboot. He's in a relationship with her, which goes sideways really quickly because Charles has really bad taste in women. He really knows how to pick them. He really should consider.
Well, so does Oliver sometimes, but Oliver is more towards the good, though. Let's just
Charles has a psychopath woman magnet. So
the crazy, he knows how to find them.
Yeah. And then Oliver, played by Martin Short, is trying to revive his Broadway career again, and thought he really had something with this play called Death Rattle.
Yeah,
which that is, of course, something with that kind of title. Oliver Putnam would be like, absolutely, I'm going to direct it. I'm going to direct this play. But in the process of Ben dying twice, Oliver decides that he does not want to give up on the show, and in a moment of whatever, he decides the Death Rattle should be turned into a musical. Death Rattle Dazzle. And it needs to be complete. Which means the show needs to be completely redone in 3 weeks. Because he's got the
that doesn't scream Oliver. I don't know what does.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the funding. He's got this crazy.
He's got the bankroll.
Mother-son duo who have
creepy,
way too close of a relation. There's an Oedipus thing going on there. Nobody's business.
Oh, yes. Yeah. 100% agree with you, Rachel.
Yeah.
My mom even took one look at that and she's like, I hope this isn't going to take the twist that it's looking at. I hope not either.
Yeah. So, we got Donna and Cliff, this mother and son duo that have way more money than they know what to do with, but Cliff sees himself as a budding Broadway producer, and this was going to be his first show. So Oliver, wants to not let the opportunity pass, and so he panders to Cliff's ego, and convinces him to let him keep the money and maybe a bit more because musicals are more expensive, and overhaul this thing in a matter of weeks to become Death Rattle Dazzle. In the process of dealing, and he gets so distracted by that and his budding relationship with Meryl Streep. So, which I loved her in this as Loretta.
She is so awesome as Loretta.
Yeah.
I mean, she keeps you guessing, but she's so nuanced that it's perfect.
Yeah. It's like, with Meryl Streep, she's one of the most awarded film actresses of all time, as far as nominations and wins. A lot of the stuff that she's won for tends to be period pieces, which I've seen a handful of them. Not all of them are period pieces. Kramer versus Kramer, that was set in the time period it was made.
And then A Cry in the Dark or Cry in the Wilderness, but I'm not sure if that one was a period piece or not.
Yeah, she's
the
done
Australian Outback with the Dingo ate my baby line.
Yeah. Yeah. Her resume is very long. And of course, turning this into a musical is not outside of her wheelhouse, as we discovered with Mamma Mia. Yeah.
Right.
She can carry a tune. So,
yes,
but it was
she can.
There was just something very almost fresh seeing Meryl Streep in a role like this.
Yes.
So, because it's different than what we're used to seeing her in, but it's not so different that you're like, this is weird.
Right.
Because it puts her in a setting that Meryl Streep in real life would be comfortable in anyway, which is, getting ready to do an acting gig.
Right. And seeing her on the small screen versus the big screen. But I mean, there's no differentiation whatsoever. She's got it nailed.
Yeah. Yeah. She's fabulous. She's absolutely wonderful.
And then we got a couple cameos.
Yes, because it's like this whole thing with the murder, and at one point the evidence makes it look like Loretta maybe killed Ben. That's the way that's one constant that has been the same through all 3 seasons, is it bounces around who looks like they might be the actual murderer. And we never find out who it actually is until the last episode. Because otherwise you wouldn't keep turning in week after week.
Exactly.
That's how TV used to work. So there's eventually this argument that occurs between our trio, and Oliver is distracted with the musical. Charles is distracted with his crazy fiance that ends up dumping him, which he dodged a bullet there. Really
big time.
Poor William McKinley.
Yes.
The fish, not the actual president.
Yes.
That's a whole thing. While also feeling like he's doing the playing the constable really for Oliver, but also it's feeding into his ego, because he's like, every now and then he'll be like, well, I am an established actor. Like, he doesn't want to lean into the ego, but sometimes he does, which I think kind of fun, because Oliver, his ego is just like whatever, which is a good folly to Steve Martin trying to be the more kind of level-headed. So I just love Steve Martin and Martin Short as a duo. But then you throw Selena Gomez in there, and there's something about the 3 of them together. There's a chemistry there that I know I've mentioned this before. Like, when they originally announced this series at D23, however many years ago it was, and they're like, yeah, there's gonna be this show on Hulu with Martin Short and Steve Martin. I'm like, oh, and then they're like, Selena Gomez, and it's like, what? It's like, because I did not think it was. I just thought it was. I didn't think it was necessarily gonna be that good. But then when it started, I'm like, okay, I take back everything I said. It's so good. The 3 of them together are just are so good.
Yes.
And But at one point, like the Only Murders podcast kind of blows up. And Mabel starts to do it on her own with assistance from Tobert, the guy that she meets.
Or Toblerone.
Yeah.
Was it Charles who gave him that nickname, or was it Oliver? I can't remember.
I think it was Charles. At one point we get Cinna back, played by Tina Fey.
That was kind of an underused.
Like they brought her back for like a hot second.
Yeah.
To see if maybe she could rope Mabel into being part of her, podcast empire, while Cinda's like also trying to convince people that she has had a complete change in personality because of the pandemic, but really it's just for clicks, and downloads and listens. I think it was more just a reminder that she's out there, and maybe she'll come back to play a bigger part maybe next season.
Yeah, I think you could be right there, but it was just like, really? Okay.
Yeah. And then we have Detective Williams again. Yeah, poor Donna.
I love her.
I do too. She's just this loud, take no shit from anybody police detective who is also a really, really big theater nerd.
Yes. So don't you try to be telling her anything different, because she will school you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, basically, she's kind of like Professor McGonagall when she sees Oliver.
Yeah, she's like, whenever there's trouble, why is it always you three?
You three, yes.
Yeah.
I should have known.
Yeah. That's pretty much how it goes. And then we get some cameos, because at one point Charles quits the musical, so then they got to find a replacement, and then Cliff comes in clutch with, of course, anybody that appears on Only Murders as themselves. Obviously it's a fictionalized version of themselves. Like we've had Sting, we've had Amy Schumer. In this case it's Matthew Broderick.
With the warning from
well, except he got the warning a little too late from Mel Brooks. So yeah, which
it's just like you nod your head and say yes, but you don't give in.
Yeah, which, you know what, I have done theater in my day. Maybe it's just because I never did anything very large enough to have the kind of pressure that Charles was under with the Patter song. I've never heard of The White Room.
I haven't either, but now it makes total sense.
I have had a moment where I've completely forgotten my lines, but there was no White Room. There was just awkward silence on stage until I realized that the person backstage who was loudly whispering in my direction was trying to feed me the line that I'd forgotten. So I was in like junior high, so yeah. But of course, Matthew Broderick, being Matthew Broderick, of course, he comes in, can do the song perfectly. But this version of Matthew Broderick apparently takes method acting to a whole other level.
Creepy whole new level?
A creepy whole new level? Like, he doesn't just try to embody the character, he tries to create an entire backstory. And certain things in his mind would determine certain actions he would take with said character. So it's like, are they from New York? What part of New York? Are they from, Brooklyn versus Queens? Because a constable from Brooklyn versus a constable from Queens is going to act completely different. Like, really? And even
I
Oliver's
can't remember
like,
if
really?
there was a Wisconsin reference brought up. I was like, no, we ain't going there.
Yeah.
Sorry, bud. No. You ain't dragging my state into this.
Yes. The poor Oliver's like, getting on FaceTime with Mel Brooks, like, you've worked with Broderick before, like, is he always like this? And Mel Brooks is like, dude, you're screwed.
Yep.
Yeah. It's too late now. You've let the cow out of the barn.
Yeah.
But then there's all sorts of references in there. In the entire series, I'll have linked in the show notes a video of various Easter eggs that you might have missed in the season. That includes references to other stuff that several of the cast have done, like in Ben's apartment after he's dead, and they're going to sell all of his collectibles. There are Ben Glenroy-ized versions of stuff that Paul Rudd has done. So there's a knockoff of Ant-Man. There's a knockoff of his character from Anchorman. So
I'm surprised they missed the Father of the Bride reference.
There is. When Selena's in the wedding dress, and they're like, "Are you the father of the bride?" Yes, So there's a nice Father of the Bride reference there. There's lots of references to Meryl Streep's works inside her apartment. But this is so funny because it's like when Oliver's on the phone with Mel Brooks, and they end up talking about, because obviously Broderick was in the producers, both on stage and in the film, the musical film adaptation. Because the producers is one of those where it was just a regular movie turned into a musical, adapted the musical into film. One of those. And Oliver mentions that he never saw the producers. Mel Brooks is like, it was on for like 10 years. But what's funny is Martin Short in real life has been in a production of the producers.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Playing the role that Matthew Broderick played. So the fact that Oliver's like, I never saw it, meanwhile Martin Short was in it at one point. So was rather funny. I thought I was like, I understood that reference. I was like, I got it. So there's lots of shenanigans and running around and callbacks to other characters at the Arconia. But eventually they figure out who did it, kind of.
Right. And we get more backstory with Uma, which helps kind of move the stuff along too.
Yeah, because this whole thing with Ben is Ben supposedly had this reputation of being like a real jackass, which he kind of was. But at the same time, he had a softer side to him.
Yeah.
Because it's his brother Dickie, who is his manager and does everything for him. And there's at one point was it Dickie or was it someone else that accused Ben of going to see prostitutes?
I think it was Dickie. I think it was Dickie, or he was supposedly covering for his brother because somebody had said that, but it turns out to be something else entirely.
Yeah, because Ben would get drunk and then go out and disappear, and then all he'd say is bitches get stitches or something like that.
Yeah.
And it turns out they're not prostitutes. It's a sewing circle with little old ladies.
Yes.
Who own a sewing shop, like a fabric shop.
Yes.
Called like something in stitches, bitches and stitches or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Bitches get stitches. So
I mean, a complete plot twist that nobody saw coming, but it's like, oh, that makes sense, and hey, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So, and then Ben's got this whole thing about, like, he likes to fast before he performs, but he's got a really soft spot for cookies and other baked goods, but especially cookies, which I can't blame him because I have got a sweet tooth like nobody's business. I would really like a cookie right now, actually. I could easily devour a cookie if somebody put it in front of me. So it's like, but by the time they got to the video and from the camera that had been in Ben's dressing room, and you see him talking, but you can't see who it is he's talking to, and then you get the recordings of Detective Williams kind of pseudo interrogations of people. I had figured out that the video, Ben is talking to the cookie. He's talking to a cookie. Yeah, it's not another person. He's like, you'd ruin. He's like, you'd destroy me. You'd ruin my careers, because he thinks carbs and sugar would like totally screw him up or something. Again, he's got a bit of an ego, bit of a jackass, but nice guy at the same time. And it does turn out that the cookie does kind of ruin him because it had been poisoned with rat poison. Not that he noticed, because he shoved the whole thing into his face.
Right. Yeah. How much rat poison does
Glenroy? How many rats is a Ben Glenroy?
Yeah.
It turns out they were right. As far as the cookie was concerned, Donna did do it.
Yes.
So, was before that, at one point, it looked like Dickie baby had done it because he was jealous of Ben, because Dickie was adopted. And then, so because his parents couldn't conceive a baby, and then he was adopted, and then all of a sudden they got pregnant with this miracle baby, and then Ben's like supposed to be all talented, becomes this great actor, doing these movies and TV shows and all this stuff. And so, while yes, Dickie was a little jealous, he would never hurt his brother.
No.
But Loretta confesses that she did it because it looks like Dickie's going to get arrested, and she does it because it turns out that she is actually Dickie's biological mother. So all those years ago, when she was trying to start her own acting career, little casting couch thing type happened.
Yeah.
She got knocked up. Of course, she's like 19 at the time. She's like, I can't be a mother, so she puts the baby up for adoption. Happens to be the future Ben Glenroy's parents, so they adopt her baby boy. She goes off to try and make her acting career be a thing. Dickie gets raised, with the Glenroys, but then they have surprise baby Ben. So, but yeah, Loretta at one point, tries to throw herself under the bus, thinking that her son, who doesn't even know yet that she's his biological mother, is going to go to jail for murder that she thinks he committed. But it turns out that Donna actually was the one that poisoned the cookie. But in the process of that, she also confesses to pushing Ben down the elevator shaft, because she ends up doing the same thing that Loretta was doing, trying to save her kid. And it turns out that Cliff, her son, Oedipus, was the one that pushed Ben down the elevator shaft after having an argument about Ben figured out that Donna had poisoned him.
Correct,
but because of all the other drugs that Ben had in his system, it only just kind of knocked him into like a coma type thing, so it seemed like he was dead. So it turns out that that Ben was killed twice, by mother and son, Mother tries to protect child, but Cliff ends up confessing his part of it, and they get arrested. But in the process, Death Rattle Dazzle does end up going off really well. So I really wish that they would just take everything they'd have of just the musical without the plot stuff and just give us what they've got. So, because I think I figured out the plot of Death Rattle, as absurd as it is the idea that there's this lighthouse somewhere, probably up on the East Coast, Maine or something like that. I'm sure Brittany could probably be like, yes, this would be appropriate. Places I have been. Like, I've seen lighthouses like that before. So there's this lighthouse, and habitating in it is the Pickwick triplets, who are of an undetermined age. They're still in diapers, we know that much, and still in bassinets, but old enough that potentially they could commit murder because their mother ends up dead. Because it's just them and their mother and their nanny living in this lighthouse. Their father is nowhere in the picture. And the constable, played by the part played by Charles Hayden Savage / Steve Martin, is kind of like the local cop. In a small town like this, like, crime really doesn't happen, so he's kind of like, not quite bumbling, but this is kind of over his pay scale. So he has the whole patter song about which of the Pickwick triplets did it. Which thankfully Hulu has on their YouTube channel, has put all of the musical numbers up with all the plot stuff taken out. Cool. So you can watch them just like a music video, which is nice. Cool. But it would be kind of cool if we could get like the whole like production.
Right. Because there's only 2 songs on Spotify, the Pickwick and then Look for the Light.
Yeah. Yeah. Though they have all of the songs on Hulu. So so when the constable realizes, I don't know if it's because the constable realizes he's in over his head, or just word gets out, like this private detective shows up, which was supposed to be played by Ben until Ben died. And then his understudy ends up getting way too over medicated to go on. So Oliver steps in, which is great because it gives Martin Short a chance to show, his chops, which is fabulous, considering what's her face from the Arconia, the one lady, the neighbor who was friends with Bunny, when she's sitting next to Matthew Broderick in the audience, and he's like, and she, Oliver appears and they start doing the opening number, Creature of the Night, and she's like Broadway's worst triple threat: can't sing, can't dance, can't direct, or whatever. That's like,
yes, that's what it was. Yeah, can't act, can't direct. Yep.
Yeah, it's like, which is funny. It's funny because it's Martin Short and he can. So,
right. Yeah.
So Oliver steps in to play the part of this like private detective, and there's this whole subplot kind of that the nanny seems to care for the children more than their mother ever did. And this whole idea that a mother will do anything for the sake and love of a child, which is like a huge like green flag that, hey, it's probably Donna and her son that probably did this. So it's like, that's why it made, Loretta confessing, trying to protect Dickie, was like close, wrong mother and son combo. For this. But it turned in Death Rattle Dazzle, it turns out that the Pickwick triplets' mother was killed by the private detective because he is the triplets' father.
Mm-hmm.
But that is all of the plot that we got.
Yeah.
Because the end of the musical gets kind of ruined when Cliff threatens to jump out of a trapdoor that's in the ceiling above the stage and plummet to his death on the scenery while the musical's
right. And Charles knows something's going on, but he's still trying to keep in role and try to fuse at the same time.
Yeah. So it's just but they figure it out. The everything gets straightened out. Dickie finds out, figures out that Loretta is his mother without her ever having to tell him. He's like, I just kind of felt it. It's very deep. And then in theory, everybody's supposed the musical gets a good review, which is good. Because it was going to get a bad review back when it was still a play, which was and Ben was the biggest reason why the play sucked. And that was why Donna wanted to kill Ben, because he was the weakest link in the chain.
Because she wanted to see baby boy succeed.
She wanted to see her little boy, her little Oedipus, be a successful Broadway producer. So, Oedipus complex, so gross. So it's like, they give us, we get these clues, and of course, there's lots of, like I said, lots of Easter eggs to some of the work that some of our co-stars have done. And then, they have the after show party, everybody's happy, yay. Tobert tells Mabel that he's going out to California to do a gig because he's a professional videographer and documentary maker. And Loretta has been offered an acting job out in California as well. And of course she and Oliver are a thing. So she wants he's willing to go out there and see what kind of things he could do show wise out in California. And it looks like all three of them are going to go out to California, but at the same time not, because Mabel really wants to stay in New York, because she's like, I've got personal things that I need to straighten out, and I need to do that here. So I kind of hope maybe that we'll at least get some California stuff next season.
Or maybe like half and half. They split half the season, half in New York, half in...
Yeah, but considering the dead body is in New York, our next dead body is in New York. Still in New York. What's funny, which is, again, if you don't know, like, your TV shows and stuff, Loretta gets offered a role in a Grey's Anatomy spinoff. What's funny is Tobert is played by Jesse Williams, who was on Grey's Anatomy. So, again, keeping it in the ABC family. But of course, we can't end without a murder. So we end with a murder, but I don't think the person who got murdered is supposed to be the person who got murdered.
Oh no. I don't think
so.
Just considering the text said Scott Bakula said hi.
Yeah, there's this whole thing with Charles's ex running off, and supposedly now shacking up with Scott Bakula, which, again, alternate universe, in real life, Scott Bakula is happily married. at least of this recording. It's actually his birthday today as we're recording this too.
Oh,
So,
happy
how
birthday,
appropriate.
Captain
Yes.
Archer and
Sam Beckett.
Yes.
So yeah. His ex-fiance is taken off, which run, Scott, run.
Yes.
You don't need that kind of crazy.
She's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Mm-hmm. But and why was it just like at the end of season 1, somebody is like, oh, we need more alcohol, I'll go get some, and then somebody ends up dead? Because this is exactly what happened at the end of season 1, where Mabel was like, I'm gonna go get more champagne, and Bunny ends up dead, and Mabel ends up covered in her blood. This case, Charles is all like, I've got this cool vintage wine, I'm gonna go get it. And then you see in Charles's apartment someone who the silhouette looks like Charles.
Oh yeah.
Ends up getting stabbed, shot. It's very quiet, so I'm not entirely sure.
I'm thinking shot with a silencer, because I think there is a bullet hole in the window.
Oh, okay. It was just so quiet. It was like,
right.
One minute they're it's creeping through the dark, next thing you know they're on the ground and trying to write stuff in blood with their fingers. But it turns out that it wasn't Charles in his apartment. It was his stunt double, Saz, who played by Jane Lynch. And I honestly think whoever killed Saz thought that was Charles, and it was a case of mistaken identity, because in the dark, it'd be a little harder to tell them apart. So so which means somebody has it out for Charles.
Right. So I'm wondering, here's my theory. It's Joy with a combination of what's her name, who's behind bars. And I think they're working together.
You think it's a tag team of Charles's crazy exes?
I'm thinking so. Unless somebody's coming out of the woodwork that we don't know about that has an axe to grind with Charles.
I mean, could be.
Because Zaz has been talking to the two of them.
That is true.
And Zaz has probably been spilling the beans about some of the stuff that Charles has been up to. And
told the wrong piece of information to the wrong person.
Exactly.
And was like, I can do something with this.
Yes.
Like revenge.
I'd be checking prison records to see who's visited whom.
That's a good idea. Yeah, which is why I think that's going to keep them in New York. That's why I think it's going to keep them in New York, especially if Charles has a target on his back.
Right.
They're neither Oliver nor Mabel are going to want to leave him alone.
Oh no!
So
they're going to be on him like a Velcro.
Yeah. Yeah. So the question is it just Charles that was targeted, or was he just the first one of opportunity and it's not all three of them that could potentially be targets?
That's also a good point.
It could be someone out for the podcast as a whole.
Yes. Oh man, and my eyes suddenly turned to TNA's character, Cinna.
Yeah. Yeah. Somehow I think Cinna's going to play into this.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah. Who knows? That's the thing. They do such a good job about keeping us guessing.
Yes.
Because it's like, I thought I called it with Donna. And they called it with Donna, but at the same time, I was like, that's too easy. There has to be another twist. And it turns out that, there is a twist. It was Donna. It just wasn't just Donna.
Yeah.
So it was like
mother-daughter or mother-son murder plot here.
Yeah. Yeah. They're going to have to figure out how to do without each other being separated by prison bars. So because they tend to keep the men and the women separated. So,
yep.
But yeah, it's so good, so good.
Yes. Oh yes.
I'm so glad we're getting another season. So,
oh yeah.
I think maybe they could do 1, maybe 2 more. I think that would be good. I think 4 or 5 seasons, I think would be good.
Yep. Now we just need to get Chevy Chase and we get the 3 amigos back.
Yeah. I know some people desperately want a 3 amigos reunion. They would have to come up with
something
as much
that
as
would
I
work.
love the 3 amigos. It's one of those, it's so bad it's good type movies, because the movie's crap, really. But it's just so fun because the 3 of them together is a good pairing.
It's what makes it.
Yes, but Chevy Chase has got some baggage.
Yes, he does.
As a human being. So he is notoriously a dick to work with.
Yeah.
So, if Steve and Martin, it's so weird saying their names together because it sounds like I'm saying Steve Martin and just putting a really long pause in between. But if I go by last name
or Martin and
because I can't go by last name because then it's like Martin Short again. It just sounds like I'm putting a really big pause in there.
You do what those before and after puzzles in Wheel of Fortune do. You just call them both Steve Martin Short.
Yes, exactly.
Steve Martin Short. Yeah.
Steve Martin Short. So it's like, you know what? If they are willing to put up with Chevy, more power to them. So if he's willing to behave, I think he could be a great, even just a cameo. He doesn't necessarily have to be a significant part of it. Matthew Broderick is only in a handful of scenes. Sting only appears, short period of time. I mean, you can easily pull, because it's set in New York and they film in New York, at least some of it. I mean, you can easily pull from Broadway, take your pick of people. So, there's all sorts of people that I think would make really good either playing someone else or playing a fictionalized version of themselves. Like Idina Menzel, I think she would be fabulous on this. So Lin-Manuel Miranda, yep. Bring it on.
Yes. Wish list.
Yes. Absolutely. So many options for people to grease us with their presence. Like I said, since I'm not involved and I wouldn't be there, it's not going to affect me. So you know what? Like I said, if Chevy Chase if they're willing to put up with him and he's willing to behave himself, I say do it. And
they can just do an audio clip, him sending in audio feedback, and boom.
Yeah. or just like a FaceTime like they did with Mel Brooks.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Keep it short and sweet and don't have to worry about too much baggage.
Yes. Exactly. So, but since we know we're getting a 4th season, we can all kind of breathe a little easier. So, now it's just a matter of the acting strike ending so that they can film it. So, because the writers are back, so the writers could start working on scripts if they wanted to. I know a lot of them are still out there on the picket line supporting their actor friends. A lot of them have their toes in both pools.
Yes.
But yeah, this is one of those shows. It's kind of like, we've had some shows like this throughout the years. There's like The Librarians, where it's like it's not huge,
Right.
But it's done so well, and the following it does have is strong enough that they keep bringing it back.
Yes.
And I mean, that's kind of what we need.
Mm-hmm.
If you want good quality television, it doesn't matter whether it's, you know, super big multi-million-dollar budget Game of Thrones-esque or this weird little kind of streaming murder mystery with two old comedians and, you know, Jen Selena Gomez is, because she's however old she is, 30.
I think
30
so.
something. So
yeah.
Whatever generation she's in because of her age. So because I think she's too young to be a millennial. So at 31. So I don't know. Kids these days.
I'm a millennial and I'm 33.
Yeah.
Yeah, millennials aren't the young obnoxious whippersnappers anymore.
Yeah, she's born in 92, so
okay.
I don't know what the cutoff is for millennials, because I'm an elder millennial. So I got almost a decade on her. So
yeah. Recently, one of my coworkers at the library had this huge poster up, and it said, "When were you born?" And it had, you know, people put a little dot sticker on when we were born, and so it was like there was the silent generation, the greatest generation, boomers, baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, and Generation Alpha. Mm-hmm. So there was. I know we're getting off track, but this is just funny. So there was the football team for the high school. I think they are. They look 12 to me, but who knows? They were there. They're at the library using our room to, you know, watch game film, and planning it all in their uniforms and whatever. And they were waiting in the front lobby, waiting for, you know, the coaches to get the room reservations up. Anyway. They were looking at the poster and putting dots under greatest generation because they wanted to be the greatest.
Yes.
Sorry, guys.
That's not how that works.
No. It's like, no, you guys that's like your great grandparents by now, which is really weird to think, because that's my grandparents. But anyway, so yeah, the generation thing is weird. We had a big month-long discussion about it because it was a
quick Google search. Selena Gomez would still be considered a millennial.
Okay,
just at the younger end. So because the cutoff apparently is at 1994. So
your mileage may vary.
That are like, I've seen some say like 85 to 95 or even into 99. Yeah. And nobody can really,
because there's no authority on this.
So. No, and then if the tail end of the 70s to the part of the, you know, to the beginning part of the 80s, there's that little cutoff.
Yeah,
distinction there too.
Quite frankly, and I'm gonna brag on myself for a minute, because I had so many adults tell me as I was growing up, it's like, you know what, you are like 10 years more mature than the rest of your peers. And I'm like, and now that I'm older, and I'm like, I feel like I identify better with Gen X than I do with millennials. I'm like, yeah, that tracks.
Yeah. It's just the fact that Steve Martin and Martin Short are boomers. So
yes. And then there's this
so it's all generational mix, you know.
Yes. But it's a generational mix that works.
Yes.
And at first you wouldn't think, but it works. Yes.
Yep.
It's okay to like people from your parents' generation, guys. It's all right.
Yes.
Yeah.
They didn't ruin everything. They're actually some of them are pretty smart and know what they're doing.
Well, at least these two do.
Yes.
So
that is. Oh, excuse me. Only Murdered in the Building, season 3.
Yeah. So
good stuff.
Yes. It was appointment television.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fell behind on some other stuff, but not with Only Murders.
Every Tuesday, Mom would be reminding me, it's like, hey, we got an episode. I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
Isn't that a nice feeling?
Yes.
I gotta watch. Yeah. Anyway, it is on Hulu, so if anyone needs to catch up and you have access to Hulu, there you go.
And lucky you guys, season is done, so you can completely binge and not have to wait a week like we those of us who watched it as it dropped.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of all that generational stuff, it's like, yeah, I grew up watching shows week to week, day to day, but now I'm just used to the binge model, and I'm like, I'm gonna wait till they're all out, and then I will watch them. And this is true of anything. So
yep.
That's anyway. If any of our listeners have watched Only Murders in the Building and they want to give us your thoughts, please send us some feedback. We will read it out on the show. You may send that at our email address, which is fivishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also visit our website, which is thefivishfangirls.com, and you can get our show notes and links to our social media. If you leave comments on the site or any of our other feeds, we'll treat that as feedback as well. We have a YouTube channel. Rachel mentioned it earlier with her visit to Louisville and what's it called? My brain just went dumb.
American HorrorPlex.
That's that one. So go check that out on our YouTube channel. We also have ways to support the podcast through Patreon or our merch shop. And the merch shop is, bags, stickers, mugs. I think it's got t-shirts, whatever's on there. Go check it out. All of it helps support the podcast and keeps us going. And of course, we thank you for your support and your feedback, comments, likes, subscribes, and all that good stuff, because you guys make this fun when we have an audience. I mean, like I said before, we'd waffle on about this to each other anyway, but it's cool that we've got an audience for it as well. So thank you for listening.
Yeah, it's always wild when I see like us tagged or somebody comments on something and it's like, I don't know who you are. Awesome.
Yes, you're not someone I'm related to.
Yeah.
Or that I know in real life. This is cool. Not that I don't appreciate my relatives and friends and whatnot for sending in and interacting with us, but there's just a little something extra when it's someone you don't know. Take care, everybody. Have a good week.
Yep.
Yes.
It's getting cold out there in some spots, so stay warm.
That is true. Mornings have been chilly, but the afternoons have gotten kind of hot, so keep that jacket handy.
Yep. Layers are your friend.
Yes.
All right. With that, we will take our death rattle dazzle handkerchiefs and sign off for this week.
This is Brittany Melrose saying goodnight.
Christy saying goodnight from Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis. All right. Give this a shot. Coochie coochie coo. What if none of it is true? Has my inspection been too cursory? Should I look outside the nursery? What if none of the Pickwick triplets did it? Who'd have a menacing motive and hit it? Who? Well, I pick you!
We agree on a lot.
Like Paul Rudd. Everybody loves Paul Rudd.
I didn't know this was going to happen.
Thank you for listening to the Fiveish Fangirls. Please visit thefivishfangirls.com for details on how to further support the show, along with information on our nonprofit, Fangirls Give Back. We love our Fiveish fam and appreciate all of your feedback, shares, and encouragement. Remember to keep letting your geek flag fly.